When the tsunami hit, my husband led the entire rescue team straight toward his beloved white moonlight, Emily. But I didn't scream for help. I clenched my teeth in the freezing seawater and decisively swam in the opposite direction. Because in my previous life, my husband did hear my cries. To save face, he chose to rescue me, the pregnant wife, first. But Emily witnessed it all. And shortly after being saved, she smiled, laughed, and later lost her mind out of jealousy. After she died, my husband finally settled down and stayed by my side every night without leaving. Yet on the day our child was born, he heartlessly drowned the baby right in front of me. She knew how to swim, he growled. Why did she scream for help? Why pretend to be weak? If you made me lose Emily, then today, I want you to feel the agony of losing the one you love most too. In my despair, I summoned incredible strength and dragged that madman down with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the tsunami. Emily, didn't expect it to be me this time, did you? The disappointment on her face was almost laughable. It was me who texted you to meet at the beach. Me who messaged you late at night, pretending to confide in you. At that time, Johnny was still massaging my legs. Take a look. She lifted the phone in front of my face, smugly showing off photos of my husband with her. But I had no mind to argue. I turned toward the ocean. The tide had already begun to recede. It was too late. I bolted, dialing the rescue team as I ran. I'm Laura Carter, wife of your team captain. The ocean tide is retreating fast, a tsunami is coming. Please. Before I could finish, laughter burst from the other end. Ma'am, are you having another episode? The operator said mockingly. The sea's calm right now, what tsunami? If you want to find Captain Johnny, at least come up with a better excuse. We're all tired of this. Every one of us can vouch that there's nothing inappropriate between Johnny and Emily. You're the only one who doesn't get it. I was speechless, frozen by the scorn in his voice. Emily, seizing the moment, caught up with me. Calling the rescue team? Trying to expose our great love, she sneered. You're way off. Everyone sees me and Johnny as the perfect match. You were always the outsider. Her eyes sparkled with joy, confident her scheme had succeeded. But I wasn't even looking at her, I was staring behind her. Because right then, behind her smug silhouette, the ocean had begun to rise. Waves silently climbed, stacking into towering walls. When Emily saw the horror on my face, she finally realized something was very, very wrong. The moment she turned around, the vast ocean had already crashed in. I fought with everything I had, flailing through the water until I finally caught hold of a floating lifebuoy drifting nearby. But the relief in my heart lasted only seconds, my smile froze. Somehow, a large tear had been cut into the lifebuoy, and it was deflating so fast I could see it with my own eyes. Another wave slammed into me. I shut my eyes and held my breath, and at that exact moment, I felt someone yank hard on the float. When I opened my eyes again, Emily had ripped the lifebuoy from my hands and was desperately swimming toward shore. The relentless seawater battered my legs, and the pain in my already aching joints, worsened by the pregnancy, throbbed with each kick. I knew I didn't have much strength left. Just as I was struggling to stay afloat, I grabbed onto a piece of driftwood. Not far away, I heard the rumble of an engine. It was my husband, John Harrison, and his rescue team. They had arrived. One of the rescuers on the boat spotted me and cheered. Captain, look. That's your wife, Laura. We've got to get her now. But at the same time, from the opposite direction, Emily's desperate screams echoed over the waves. Help me, John. I've got a cramp, my leg. I can't take it anymore, it's freezing. Please come save me. In my past life, I'd been too exhausted and terrified that I'd die along with the baby, so I called for help just like she did. In front of everyone, John had no choice but to save me first. Then he quickly turned the boat around and rescued Emily, who was completely unharmed. But later, Emily, driven mad with jealousy, picked a fight with him. She even threatened suicide to force John to divorce me, even though I was still pregnant. But John didn't dare ask for a divorce during my pregnancy, afraid people would say he abandoned his wife and unborn child. In one of her emotional outbursts, Emily lost her balance, slipped, and fell to her death. After that, John seemed to forget Emily ever existed. He transformed into the perfect husband, waiting for our baby to be born, treating me with the utmost care. I thought, maybe I had finally reclaimed the happiness I once lost. But I never imagined, behind every smile John gave me, there was something dark and cold. Remembering the pain of losing my child, I bit my lip hard and clung tighter to the piece of wood. Another wave crashed over me. At this point, I couldn't tell whether my face was soaked with seawater, or my own tears. But this time, as Emily's cries grew louder and more urgent, I no longer tried to compete. The moment John heard her voice, his pupils dilated. He stood up on the rescue boat, ignoring everything else, cupped his hands to his mouth, and shouted back. "Emily! Where are you? Don't be scared, I'm coming for you. Swim toward me. I can't see you clearly, where are you?" To the very end, I never expected a voice as deep and commanding as John Harrison's to tremble with sobs. Another wave crashed down. I choked on seawater, barely able to breathe. One of the rescue crew tugged at John's sleeve anxiously. "Captain, Laura's right beside us. Shouldn't we pull her aboard first, then go look for Emily?" John, the calm, composed leader of the rescue team, rarely lost his temper. But this time, he snapped. "Shut it. This boat only holds 4 people. Laura's pregnant, she counts for 1.5. If we bring her up now, what about Emily? I had already died once." Yet hearing John say those words with such cold indifference, it still cut like a knife. As towering waves loomed, I desperately changed direction, trying to put as much distance between me and him as possible. But the struggle from before had drained me. I could barely swim a few feet before the wave swallowed me again. Right before I went under, I couldn't help but turn my head. And all I saw was John steering the lifeboat, charging toward Emily without the slightest hesitation. The ocean surged over me. In that moment of suffocating despair, I stopped struggling. Darkness closed in around me. Then suddenly, 2 strong arms lifted me above the water. "Those guys on that lifeboat must be blind," a voice grumbled. "There's a pregnant woman right here, and they just left her? You all right, ma'am? She's pregnant. We need a hand here, help her up. Priority to women and children, especially pregnant ones." Several people rushed to lift me onto a larger rescue boat. They called out urgently beside me. "Hang in there, you're safe now. Deep breaths, in, out. We'll get you to a safe zone. Just hold on. Think of your baby. Think of your family." I couldn't speak. My whole body was trembling uncontrollably, not from the cold, but from sheer shock. Seeing my condition, they didn't hesitate for a second. Taking turns, they carried me across the retreating shoreline, running as fast as they could to get me to a hospital. I wanted to thank them. But a sharp pain tore through my lower abdomen, curling my body into itself. Before I lost consciousness, I saw the genuine worry etched into their unfamiliar faces. And the image of John's back, walking away without a moment of doubt. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital room. The young nurse beside me gasped with joy. "She's awake. The pregnant woman we rescued, she's finally awake." Following her shout, a group of doctors rushed into the room. Only then did I learn. The people who saved me were part of a temporary rescue unit organized by this very hospital. Looking at their relieved, hopeful smiles, tears streamed down my face once more. Just as I was about to sit up and say thank you, the nurses flusteredly pushed me back onto the bed. "No need to thank us," they insisted. "This is our duty as healthcare workers, saving lives is what we do." "Where's your family?" one nurse asked gently. "The tsunami's long over, why haven't they come?" I lowered my eyes, my voice hoarse. You've met them already. The man who abandoned me in that lifeboat, that was my husband, John Harrison. He's the captain of the beach rescue team. A heavy silence fell across the room. After a long pause, the young nurse who had been watching over me gasped softly. "Oh my God, that was your husband?" I saw it with my own eyes. He steered right past you, even though you were the closest one to the boat. He deliberately went around to save another woman. Yes, I whispered. The man I carefully chose to marry abandoned his pregnant wife, just to save someone else. They were already heartbroken just hearing that. But they didn't know the full story. They didn't know that before that, I had just lost my baby, and died with my husband in that previous life. Remembering that surreal, devastating reality, I suddenly raised my hand and slapped myself hard. "Stupid," I muttered. Women in love can be so unbelievably stupid. I should have noticed the signs. But every time I brought up his relationship with Emily, John's rescue team members rushed to defend him, to defend her. To them, Emily was just a sweet, kind-hearted girl who wanted to join the team and serve the community. Only later, on this very same day in my previous life, did I finally learn the truth, after Emily deliberately asked to meet and clear the air. That sweet, innocent girl had already rekindled her affair with my husband. On nights when I was burning with fever, John turned off his phone and lay under the stars at the beach, with her. When I was vomiting from morning sickness and looking pale as a ghost, John was texting Emily, complaining. "God, pregnancy is worse than I thought. Let's just wait till she gives birth and then get a divorce. The kid will be ours. I don't want you to suffer through pregnancy." They continued their secret affair right under my nose. Every time John didn't come home, he was sleeping at the apartment I owned, with her. The hatred burned so fiercely inside me I could hardly breathe. Suddenly, shouts came from outside the hospital room. "Everyone, come quick. Look at this bastard who abandoned his pregnant wife, and yet still got a hero spotlight." People were cursing while passing around a phone. Within seconds, it landed in my hands. On the screen was a video. Emily was clinging to John Harrison, crying righteously into the camera. "I want to thank this heroic captain of the rescue team. It was he who saved me during the tsunami. I had a life buoy, but someone sabotaged it when I wasn't paying attention. I panicked and swallowed a few mouthfuls of seawater. If Captain John hadn't come, I wouldn't be here today." She wiped away her tears as she spoke, looking like a frightened little bunny. John Harrison gave her a gentle smile and patted her on the shoulder. "It's okay. This is what I'm supposed to do, as a professional rescue team captain. As for the person who tried to harm you," he added confidently, "I'm sure they've already been punished." Below the video, thousands of comments flooded in. Netizens condemned the so-called villain who tampered with Emily's life preserver, while showering John Harrison with praise for his righteousness and bravery. I set the phone down and looked toward the doctors who were gently comforting me. That life buoy Emily claimed was damaged? She snatched it right out of my hands. When I recounted the entire truth to the medical staff, their brows furrowed in anger. But my mind was already on something else. I quietly asked the head doctor, "Given my condition, is it still possible to terminate the pregnancy?" He met my desperate eyes, then slowly nodded. Without hesitation, I signed the pre-op paperwork. I knew it was a betrayal to the tiny life growing inside me. I loved my child. But I didn't want to bring it into this cruel world. Because its father, John Harrison, had betrayed us both. He didn't deserve this child. The surgery went smoothly. That same kind nurse stayed by my side, taking care of me. She even brought me chicken soup to help me recover. Just as she opened the thermos, the hospital room door slammed open violently. John Harrison stormed in like a hurricane and knocked the bowl of soup onto the floor. "You've got the nerve to lie here sipping soup," he roared. "You venomous woman. Do you know what you've done? Emily and I are being crucified online right now." I looked at him blankly, saying nothing. The young nurse jumped to her feet and stood protectively in front of me. Are you insane? She's your wife. Do you even realize she almost died in that tsunami? John snarled and jabbed a finger at me. You've got a sharp tongue, Laura. You had no trouble accusing Emily online. Now what? Playing weak behind someone else's back? You must be jealous. Just because I saved Emily first, you want to ruin her reputation? You fabricated everything about the lifebuoy, didn't you? You're trying to destroy her. His accusations hit like a slap. I wanted to defend myself, but before I could speak, several of John's teammates barged into the room. They looked at the spilled soup on the floor, the protective nurse, and me, lying silently on the bed. One of them scoffed, "Don't let this woman fool you. She's good at pretending to be the victim. She's just trying to tear people apart. We went back to rescue Emily first, so what?" Another chimed in. If Laura hadn't sabotaged Emily's lifebuoy, we wouldn't have had to circle back at a critical moment. And now she spreads lies online, claiming Emily stole her lifebuoy. They're all attacking Emily online, one of John's teammates said. What if she breaks down? If something happens to her, you, Laura, would basically be a murderer. At that moment, I was still too weak to sit upright. I had to prop myself up with 2 pillows just to barely hold myself up. I scoffed. I was unconscious for 2 days after nearly drowning, I said coldly. I had surgery right after I woke up. And now, you're saying I'm the one spreading rumors online? Is this a joke? Then I turned and locked eyes with John Harrison. And you, John, you left your pregnant wife behind, right in front of your eyes, to rescue a woman who wasn't even injured. You didn't even check on me afterward. The first thing you did when you walked in here was scream at me. Is that what a rescue team captain is supposed to do? John clenched his jaw in rage. Don't twist things. Emily is gentle and fragile. She was traumatized after almost drowning. Am I not supposed to comfort her? I can't believe you'd spread malicious lies over something so trivial. You claim she stole your life preserver? Seriously? Everyone saw you cut hers on purpose, trying to kill her. And now you're upset that I comforted her afterward? What do you want from me, Laura? He shouted. Just because we're married doesn't mean I can't have a personal life. He was practically foaming at the mouth, eyes blazing like I was his mortal enemy. And suddenly, I felt utterly exhausted. John Harrison, I said calmly. Let's get a divorce. His expression twisted into disbelief. He frowned. Then after a moment, his face hardened with even deeper resentment. Fine, 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 he hissed. So this is your plan, huh? You used public sympathy to frame Emily so you could demand a divorce? You want to make it seem like she's the homewrecker, the third party? You're dreaming, Laura. I won't let you destroy her. I took a deep breath, my nails digging into my palms. I had never imagined. The reason John refused to divorce me wasn't because he still had feelings for me. It was because he didn't want Emily's reputation to be damaged. What a joke. I laughed, loudly. John Harrison, I said through my laughter. You said I spread lies online accusing Emily of stealing my life preserver? How convenient. Turns out the hospital's exterior surveillance cameras, located near the beach, caught the entire incident. If you want the truth, go check it yourself. But don't you dare barge into your wife's hospital room to scream baseless accusations again. John froze. The tsunami knocked out the power grid, he said after a moment. How could there possibly be working surveillance? The young nurse, who'd had enough, finally spoke up with a smirk. Wow. Some rescue captain you are. Every hospital has backup generators to keep life support machines running, even a 3-year-old knows that. You guys kept shouting that Emily was innocent, didn't you? Then let's go check the security footage. Let that tell us who's really innocent. John let out a scoffing snort, his tone dripping with arrogance. Emily is kind and pure, one of John's colleagues insisted. She's our best friend. There's no way she'd lie. Just as he finished, the doctor who had just arrived played the hospital's security footage from 2 days ago for everyone to see. John's team crowded around the screen, eyes glued to every detail, afraid to miss a single frame. At that moment, John Harrison's phone rang. The distinctive ringtone told me exactly who it was. Emily. "John," her voice chirped from the speaker, "didn't you say you'd stand up for me?" John, who just seconds ago had a furrowed brow and cold glare, instantly lit up with a bright smile at the sound of her voice. He murmured yes, yes repeatedly, then ended the call and briskly walked out of the room. I watched his retreating figure, my heart numb. Not long ago, I'd come down with the flu and had slept alone all day in a daze. When I woke up, I was so weak I couldn't even stand. I mustered all my strength to call John and ask if he could bring me something to eat. What did he say? He said, "You've got hands and feet. Why do you keep ordering me around? Is this your way of testing my obedience? You start by asking for little things, and before I know it, I'm your errand boy. Laura, you're just too materialistic." At the time, his words felt so righteous, so condemning. And for a brief moment, I actually believed I was a burden. I kept blaming myself, trying to be more independent, to not bother him. But now, watching him coddle Emily, I finally understood. The problem was never me. It was that his heart had never truly been mine. While I was still lost in thought, a few of John's colleagues finished watching the surveillance footage. They turned toward me with apologetic eyes. "Laura," one of them said awkwardly, "we didn't know it happened like that." Maybe Emily was just scared and grabbed the life preserver out of instinct. But even so, you really shouldn't have lashed out at her online out of jealousy. I sighed. My phone sank in the ocean. I couldn't even make a single call afterward. "So tell me," I said, looking them straight in the eyes, "how could I have possibly posted anything online?" Their faces dropped. The room fell silent. It didn't take much intelligence to realize the truth. Emily's so-called defamation claims were nothing but outrage from witnesses who had seen what really happened and spoke up for me. It's not that people didn't see clearly, they just saw Emily as one of their own. And me? I was the outsider. The easy one to target. But right is right. Wrong is wrong. After a long, awkward pause, one of them suddenly pointed at my stomach, eyes wide in shock. "Wait a second. Laura, weren't you pregnant? What happened to your baby?" Turns out they did remember. That just days ago, I had been left to drown in the freezing ocean, while pregnant. I gave a faint smile and answered quietly, "My baby is gone." When John turned the boat away to save Emily, my child died. Another long, strange silence fell over the room until finally, someone spoke. "Laura, we're sorry. This really was our fault, and John's. We never expected Emily would actually snatch the life preserver from you." "I know it's too late to say this now," he added, "but none of us ever imagined things would end up like this." I simply shook my head, expressionless. They hadn't expected it. But I'm sure John Harrison had already played out this ending in his mind many times, back when he made that choice. His only regret was probably that I survived. Seeing my detached reaction, one of John's closest teammates pulled out his phone and called him, right in front of me. "John," he said quietly, "you should come back. Be with your wife. The baby, it's gone." On the other end, John sounded confused. "What do you mean the baby's gone? My baby with Laura? She was fine earlier. What are you talking about? Is this another one of Laura's tricks? Did she put you up to this so you'd all gang up on me?" "Chris, seriously? I left for 5 minutes, and now you're taking her side? I'm literally in line getting snacks for Emily right now. She loves the food from this place. My turn's up, I'm hanging up." He ended the call without waiting for a reply. Chris frowned as the call disconnected. "Laura," he said gently, "just rest for now. We'll talk to John again, and explain everything properly." They all came in a hurry, and left just as quickly. I was drained, and before long, I fell into a deep sleep. I was awakened by the sound of John's furious shouting. "Laura! How could you? Just over something so petty, you'd throw away our baby? Do you even have a mother's heart? How could you be so cruel, so heartless?" I opened my eyes slowly, my head still spinning. John had brought Emily to my room. "Humph. Look at you, still sleeping like nothing happened," he sneered. "Laura, is your heart made of stone?" I bit my lip and met John's gaze head-on. "John Harrison," I said. "The moment you turned your back on me and went to save Emily, you lost the right to be the father of my child." Emily shrank back slightly in his arms at my words. "I'm sorry, John," she whispered. "If it weren't for me, none of this would have happened. But I was so scared, and I just called your name out of instinct. You once told me that no matter what, if I ever called for you, you'd be there." John gently turned to Emily and comforted her. "Don't worry," he murmured. "That promise still stands." I had no interest in watching the two of them perform their tragic little love story in front of me. I reached for the nurse call button to summon security, but before I could press it, John grabbed my wrist. "Laura," he said coldly, "after everything you've done to hurt Emily, you owe me another child." Hearing those words, I could only laugh in disbelief. "John Harrison. Emily, have you two lost your minds?" Emily curled her lips into a smug smile, her eyes calculating. "John said pregnant women become ugly," she said sweetly. "So to keep me beautiful, we have no choice but to let you carry the next baby, Laura. But don't worry," she added with a pat on her chest. "Once the baby's born, John will divorce you right away." My whole body trembled with rage at their shamelessness. "John," I said through gritted teeth, "stop dreaming. I've already finalized the divorce papers with my attorney. I want out, now." John's face darkened completely. "You ruined Emily's reputation," he snapped. "So what if you have to carry a child to make it right? Because of you, the video of Emily grabbing that life preserver went viral. Now everyone's calling her a liar. You owe her, emotionally and publicly. Carrying a baby for her is the least you can do." I was stunned speechless by his audacity. Even the other patients in the room couldn't take it anymore. "Are you insane?" one of them shouted. "Your wife just had surgery today, and instead of asking how she's doing, you show up yelling and demand she give birth to a child for your mistress? This is unreal. If I were your wife, I would have smacked both of you shameless lunatics already." Emily's face turned crimson from embarrassment as the accusations flew. "John, don't say anything else. Just blame me," she whimpered. "I was wrong for loving you and wanting to be the mother of your child." Tears streamed down her cheeks. John immediately panicked and turned to comfort her. "Don't worry," he whispered, pulling her into his arms. "I promised you, and I'll keep that promise." I had no interest in watching them act out their tragic romance in front of me. Just as I reached for the nurse call button to summon security, John grabbed my wrist again. "Laura," he said coldly, "after everything you've done to Emily, you owe me another child." I stared at him, heart boiling, but before I could respond, he turned to leave with Emily. "I'm not feeling well, John," Emily said suddenly, tugging at his sleeve. "Maybe that street food didn't sit right with me." John immediately panicked and examined her from head to toe. "You poor thing," he murmured. "You probably got food poisoning from that cart. Come on, I'll take you to the clinic." Just as they were about to leave, I spoke again, my voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Emily," I said, "why don't you tell everyone the truth? Who invited who to the beach?" Emily froze mid-step. Her eyes darted around. "Does it even matter who invited who?" she said defensively. "Why are you still obsessing over that? In the end, because of you, I'm the one being attacked online, harassed and insulted by strangers. That's your fault." The moment she finished, John let out a snort and stepped forward, positioning himself protectively between me and Emily. He stood protectively in front of her like a weak, recovering patient, would suddenly leap up and attack the precious white moonlight in his heart. "Laura," John Harrison began coldly, "I'm the captain of the rescue team. I'll make a public statement explaining that Emily panicked when she fell into the water. She was disoriented, and that's why her memory is confused. Don't think you've earned the moral high ground just because you lost a tattered life preserver. You want to ruin Emily's reputation over that? No way." As soon as he finished, a round of slow, mocking applause came from the hallway. "Well said," a sarcastic voice boomed. "Truly impressive. A rescue captain who even came up with the excuse emotional panic caused memory distortion? Brilliant." The door burst open. Standing there was John's direct superior. "I paid you to save lives, John, and this is how you treat your job?" Upon seeing who it was, panic flickered across John's face for the first time. "Sir, please, these are just rumors. Let me explain." Before he could finish, a stack of A4 papers slammed into his chest. "You abandoned a pregnant woman, right in front of you, and turned around to save a side chick clinging to a float," the supervisor spat. "Do you have any idea how badly the media is tearing into our entire rescue unit because of this?" Without waiting for a response, the supervisor stormed out. John stared at the scattered documents in disbelief, his face growing dark with fury. He crouched to pick them up, then whipped his head toward me. "Laura," he hissed, "why did you leak the surveillance footage? I'm this close to a promotion, and now it's all going down the drain because someone caught this scandal on camera. Do you realize what you've done to me? You're cruel. You've destroyed Emily and now you're destroying me too. There was nothing inappropriate between us. Why are you so obsessed and jealous?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Emily," I said, turning toward her, "did you hear that? John says your relationship is completely innocent." Emily's face twisted, rage burning beneath the surface. She reached out and tugged at John's sleeve. "John, why haven't you told her about us yet?" But he immediately shoved her hand away. "I'll explain everything later, Emily. Right now, the priority is keeping my job." Then he turned back to me. "Laura, post a statement online, say that you were fine and told me to save someone else first." I just smiled, unfazed. "I won't," I said clearly. "And John? I've told you before. I want a divorce." For the first time, John finally looked me in the eyes. "Laura," he snapped, "stop this nonsense. I told you, I can't divorce you right now. Even if you're angry, even if you're jealous, just wait until things blow over and I get my promotion, then we can talk about it." I looked at him calmly and shook my head. "I have no obligation to help you, John. My lawyer is on the way." John immediately sprang to his feet, panic returning to his face. "What do you mean your lawyer is on the way?" John Harrison snapped, his face full of disbelief. "Are you still dazed from the surgery or did you not hear me clearly? If this is a joke, it's gone too far. I don't have the energy to play games with you, Laura. Why are you like this now? I've forgiven everything you've done, why can't you just be a little understanding toward me? I've explained my relationship with Emily to you so many times. Why can't you stop being so irrationally jealous? Can't I have a female friend without being accused of something? Ridiculous." Even after Emily had shamelessly shown me pictures of her and John in bed together, he still claimed they were just friends. Thinking back to all the trust, care, and patience I'd given John, I realized how little it had been worth. Soon after, my lawyer arrived, holding the divorce agreement I had prepared. The moment John realized I was serious, shock overtook his face. "Laura, are you really doing this? You really want to divorce me? I only saved Emily first, it's not like I didn't plan to save you too. This isn't some massive betrayal. Besides, all of this only happened because of you. You're the one who lured Emily to the beach before the tsunami hit. Why are you acting like the victim now?" I calmly took out my new phone, the one I had just restored all my data to, and held it up in front of him. Open those eyes of yours and look, John, I said coldly. The message asking me to go to the beach was sent from your number. John stared at the screen in disbelief. Emily, didn't you say Laura was the one who invited you there? What's going on? Emily froze for a second. Then, suddenly, tears welled in her eyes. I'm sorry, John, she whispered. I only did it because I love you so much. I wanted to explain everything to Laura. I thought that if I was honest, she'd back off. I didn't mean any harm. John's clenched fist slowly loosened. Still, you shouldn't have sent it from my number, he said, scolding her gently. That could cause a lot of problems for me. Watching the two of them still act like nothing was wrong, I said coldly. John, that message wasn't all she sent. She also sent me pictures of you massaging her feet. Photos of the two of you eating together. And even ones of you sleeping together. John's eyes widened in horror. He grabbed Emily by the shoulders and shook her in disbelief. What were you thinking? I told you Laura was pregnant. I told you not to provoke her. Under his relentless questioning, Emily finally snapped. She shoved him away and screamed. You said you'd wait for me forever, but when I came back, you were already married. And now you're telling me to wait again because she's pregnant? How long do I have to keep waiting? Laura already brought the divorce papers, and you still won't sign them. Do you even love me at all, John? John looked at Emily, tears streaking down her face. At last, he clenched his jaw and signed the divorce papers with trembling hands. There. You got what you wanted, he growled. Now go. Emily, delighted by his decision, immediately smiled through her tears. And right in front of me, she leaned over and kissed John Harrison on the cheek. Wonderful, babe. Emily squealed with delight. Let's go home. The two of them turned to leave, but I stepped in front of them. John Harrison, I said calmly, return the car keys and the house keys. Now. John hadn't even reacted when Emily suddenly shrieked. Are you crazy? Why should John give you his stuff? I looked at her with a calm, cutting smile. Because the car and the house are mine, purchased before the marriage. And just so you know, I added, voice ice cold, that apartment you've been hiding out in with him? That's mine too. I'll have the locks changed by the end of the day. My words struck like thunder, freezing Emily where she stood. A long moment passed before she turned to John, her voice trembling. She's lying, right? John, you're the rescue team captain, aren't you? You must have assets. Right? John looked visibly flustered. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The rescue team John works with? I said. It's a non-profit civilian volunteer organization. Yes, he gets a stipend, but not even enough to cover his own expenses. It took a few seconds, but realization finally hit Emily. John, you're broke, aren't you? And you still had the nerve to act like some kind of millionaire in front of me? You're disgusting. A grown man mooching off his wife and still trying to cheat on her? If I hadn't seen you flexing online, pretending like you were rich, I never would have come back. This whole thing, it was all fake. With that, Emily turned and stormed out. John stood frozen, watching her walk away. Then, all of a sudden, he dropped to his knees beside my hospital bed. Baby, I was wrong, he sobbed. It was Emily, she manipulated me. I didn't see her for who she really was until now. You're the only one who's ever truly treated me well. Please, don't go through with the divorce. He reached for the divorce agreement, but my lawyer immediately stopped him. Both parties have signed. The agreement is legally binding and effective. John's eyes filled with regret as he stayed kneeling, begging over and over. But not a single word meant anything to me anymore. Soon after, his colleagues came to visit, bringing gifts and supplements to apologize. Seeing John crying on the floor, they didn't bother offering him comfort. Instead, they gently reminded me to take care of my health. As they left, Christine, the team member closest to John, crouched beside him. "John, in light of your serious misconduct, the board has decided to officially terminate you from the rescue team. We also agreed, none of us want to work with you anymore. Find time to come pick up your things." John looked up in disbelief, his voice bitter. "But you were all on the boat too. Why am I the only one being punished?" At that, Christine frowned. "Each one of us asked you the same thing," Christine said. "Your wife is right there, do you want to save her first? Think hard, John, how did you respond?" With that final question, the entire rescue team turned and walked away together. Not a single one looking back. From that day on, John Harrison came to my hospital room every single day, kneeling beside my bed, begging for forgiveness. He kept saying he finally realized how terribly wrong he had been. That it had taken him this long to see I was the one who truly loved him, more than anyone in the world. But I felt nothing but disgust. So that's what all his begging was about? Just because he hoped I'd love him the way I once did? How dare he? After I fully recovered, I sold the beach house and quietly moved to a new city. Not long after, I got a call from the young nurse who used to care for me. Her voice was full of excitement, like she had breaking news. She told me that after I left, John completely lost it. He searched for me everywhere, and when he couldn't find me, he snapped. Apparently, in a fit of rage, John stabbed Emily in broad daylight after catching her with her new boyfriend. Witnesses said he screamed at her while attacking, blaming her for destroying the happy life he could have had. When I heard the news, I simply smiled, calm, indifferent. I had already left all of that behind. And I was finally facing forward.